I can never forget seeing all the bodies. Shocking because of the setting.
The little boy was stumped and he fell down. Of course, one after another, they all came down. Piled up and piled up. I said, get back, everyone. You know, I kept telling them to get back, but it was no good.
You've sent someone again, don't come back, and they're laying dead in the dressing room.
My mind was everywhere. I was thinking about these poor people that had died going to a football game.
I prayed. I said, please God, don't let me die. It was a grim wintry day, very, very grey, chilly mist was around the place.
I was 19 and Billy and George and I, we travelled home and away to see Rangers.
I was there with my best pal, Frank Trainer, and our workmate, Alec Denman.
Huge crowd, must have been about 80,000 at the game that day, and we couldn't get into a normal place, so we took up our position, you know, halfway down the terrace. And
I was 22, I think. Younger, I'd kind of broken through the team about season 69, 70.
I'd just turned 17 2 months before that, so I was still a kid. I mean, the game itself was a typical Old Firm game. You know, kick and rush, you know, tackles every 30 seconds.
It was a tight game. We scored late on. Collinstein equalised in about the last minute of the game. We didn't know what had happened when the final whistle went, so we went into the dressing room to get changed and head back to Celtic Park.
We started to go up the terrace and towards stairway 13. But when we got to the top, there was too many people rushing about and that.
we faltered our way up along the concourse, and you could feel, you know, this is quite tight. We were facing down, passageway 13, and you know, you knew yourself, this isn't right.
We've gone in the dressing room. We can hear all the police cars and ambulances and fire brigade, all the different sounds. There was 2 or 3 of us sat in the bath for a while. And then I was left there on my own. And then John Gregg came out the physio's room. He says, you better get out just now and get yourself out the road. He says, there's been a terrible accident. And I went through to the dressing room and there was none of the lads in, they'd all gone. And in front of me were 4 black bags, about 6 foot long. And I looked at it, and then the next thing, an ambulanceman came in with another one. I went, what's going on? Oh, he says, oh son, this is not for you. You better get out.
They didn't know who to go to first. There were so many of them. Then you looked out onto this brae here. It was littered with people moaning and people shouting for help.
The air was getting squeezed out of me, and you're gasping for breath. I thought, you know, this is it. You know, I actually, at one stage, I prayed. I said, please God, don't let me die.
When the railings must have burst, we all fell forward. That was when I could feel my leg getting broken. And the next thing I knew, a policeman was holding me up and saying, this one's still alive. And that was it.
There was a small give in front of me, and I could lever myself up, you know, between the boy in front and the boy behind me. And I managed to squeeze out between these 2 boys and crawled over to the wooden fence and fell down the grass embankment. And then I sat there for goodness knows how long.
I could see my leg was broken and there was a bit of white bone sticking through my socks. And I was helped into the ambulance. We were taken to Southern General. I thought I was away. I'd lost consciousness.
I came out the dressing room. I could see it as I'm walking down the tunnel. All the lights are still on. I can see the ambulances coming on the track and there's police everywhere. I looked at the corner flag where stairway 13 was, and I can see all the bodies laid out on the corner flag. You know, and I've never felt so bad in the whole of my life.
People standing outside and they were looking, they were hoping, but by that time, anything that we were dealing with, they were dead, and people just stood there and wailed and cried. I never want to see it again.
I can never forget seeing all the bodies. Shocking because of the setting. I suddenly saw Jock Stein coming out. And Stein was asked a question about the game by a reporter, and he went through them. And I remember saying, people are dead in there. Stein had actually helped with the bodies, lifting and laying them, and he was profoundly affected by that.
The directors also expressed their grateful thanks and admiration for the heroic efforts of police, ambulance personnel.
Willie Waddle saved Rangers that particular night by coming in as a manager with the club, took over his directors and took charge of all the proceedings thereafter.
Willie Waddle had phoned all the players on the Sunday and said, look, come in tomorrow. We're now going to decide what we're going to do for the next fortnight. There'll be no training. He says, we've funerals to go to and we've hospital visits to go to. Because at that time there was over 200 people in hospital.
I knew that kids from Markinch and Fife, the one single village, had died. And that was a crushing weight to put on the shoulders of a tiny community.
I went to a funeral in Markinch where the 5 boys, all from the same school and the same football team, came from. Wee village, maybe he's got 2,500, 3,000 people that lived there. It seemed like everybody was out in the street, every single person was out. And you're talking about boys that were only a couple of years younger than me. 5 young lads that are just looking forward to a really good day out, and not to come back is just absolutely horrendous.
66 people died, some in flower of their manhood.
Rangers eventually redesigned their stadium.
And that was Willie Waddle again. He decided, very soon after all that happened, that no, this is not good enough. It's not going to be safe. I'm going to make this safe.
The only way forward was to modernise the stadium. That was a kind of redemptive act. And consequently, the modern Ibrox came as a result of that terrible tragedy.
Their faces all tear-stained.
Oh, it's so vivid. Never forget it. I was lucky to survive it. Oh, aye, definitely.
It never leaves you. You realise how fortunate and lucky I was.
You'd people going to a game, and then their families are waiting on them to come back and they don't return.
Here were guys who turned up because of the love of football, the love of one particular club. Dead.
The news that would cause a whole nation